Welcome, everyone. I'm Mary Johnson, the manager of 401 Tech Bridge. We're very happy that you've joined us here today. We're going to have a presentation with Dr. Steve Bordonaro, the director of the NavalX Northeast Tech Bridge and the chief scientist of the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, and Hope Hopkins, who is the head of acceleration for MassChallenge. We're here today to talk about the Blue Tech Accelerator that we are partnering with MassChallenge on. And are very excited to give you some details about both the MassChallenge and the Early-Stage Accelerator itself, and also the Navy's interest in this accelerator and the tech domains that they're specifically recruiting for. Although that is not a requirement, you don't need to be in those tech domains in order to apply for the program. If you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. And with that, let's get going. So Miguel, if we could go to the next slide. So 401 Tech Bridge helps entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses accelerate their R&D and find commercial dual use applications for their innovative products and technologies. We have people, partners, and facilities to fill the gaps to help innovators get their proven high-tech products out the door and into customer hands. And we are a nonprofit organization and part of the University of Rhode Island Research Foundation. So here is an introduction to everyone on our team, many of whom are on the call today. We're all available to be able to provide you with support. Linda and Lee come to us with a lot of expertise in the defense industry. Specifically, and Susan in the advanced materials and composites industry. And we are here to help connect you to resources and also to provide mentorship and guidance as you start your business and accelerate your technology. So what do we do? 401 Tech Bridge connects, creates, and commercializes. So we can help you identify the gaps in your R&D process. We can help connect you to resources, equipment at the University of Rhode Island or other universities in the region. If you need help with testing or validation or maybe some research, or if you're interested in licensing technology, whether that is from one of the universities or from, say, the Naval Undersea Warfare Center. We also are we provide program management and guidance and leadership for a host of activities for Newark Newport, including prize challenges and STEM programming. And we will talk a little bit about that in just a minute. One of the things that makes 401 Tech Bridge successful is a very strong base of clients and collaborators. So I'm not going to go through everybody on this slide, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. And I want to give a special shout out to RIHub. I saw Annette Tonti on the call. She was actually has been very helpful to help us with outreach into the entrepreneurship community and to the universities. And we do appreciate that. That if you're a startup and you're in Rhode Island, I would, or thinking of coming to Rhode Island, I would highly recommend that you reach out to Annette. But we have a whole deep connections within the business support and academic and technology advancement sectors in Rhode Island. And one of our strengths is that between our ability to connect and our ability to work with you one-on-one, we can help you connect to business opportunities and funding and help with your technical challenges. We're also a partner intermediary supporting the NavalX Tech Bridge initiative. So we have a contract with the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Newport to provide outreach support and program support. And this is done through the NavalX Northeast Tech Bridge specifically. With this relationship, we are able to work with the Navy to understand their needs and then really help support from outside the gates as a non-Navy entity, a nonprofit non-Navy entity, to help help companies understand where the opportunities are and how to best connect into the Navy. So we are helping the NavalX Tech Bridge speed the solutions to the warfighter, and we're providing support for SBIRs, SBIRs, prize challenge management, accelerators, like the one we're here to talk about today, STEM programming, and more. And so with this, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Steve Bordonaro, who is the director of the Northeast Tech Bridge. And Steve's going to talk to you more about the mission of the NavalX Tech Bridge initiative, and also about the goals of Newark, Newport, and the Navy in terms of helping start small businesses get started in startups and connect into Navy problems. So Steve, take it from here.
But I'm one of the chief scientists at Newark, not the only one. I work in the sensors and sonar department, but I have some insight into the rest of what we do at Newark as well as what we do across the Navy. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Navy realized that it needed to do a better job reaching out to industry. There's a lot of great research and development and science and technology being done in industry by companies that don't traditionally work with the Navy. And we work with some of the big defense contractors as well as small companies, but we really felt like we had to do a better job reaching some of the smaller companies and more nimble companies out in industry and make it easier for them to connect with us. So we do that through an organization called NavalX. It has two sides, Tech Bridges and then Center for Adaptive Warfare. On the Tech Bridge side, we try to do a better job connecting to industry, connecting to academia, and connecting to each other. And we want to do this in a way we have really deep ties into the local regions. So that's why we have multiple Tech Bridges. And most of the Tech Bridges try to partner with a nonprofit, like we do with the 401 Tech Bridge, and a nonprofit that already has some good connections in the region. And they're called a partnership intermediary, and intermediary is a key word there, because putting someone a little bit more familiar with the business world in between the Navy and commercial side to help translate and help buffer some things is part of the strategy there. Okay, so I talked about all these Tech Bridges, and that's how we're connecting out. But there's another thing that the Navy has, which is a little different than the other services, is we have a lot of what are called warfare centers. For the NAVC side, we have 10 different warfare centers throughout the country. There's also some others for Nav Air and a couple other warfare centers in the information world. So in each of these warfare centers, you have a bunch of scientists and engineers working on problems for the Navy, whether it's supporting existing fleet needs or looking at research and technology for the next generation. So it's a lot of people out there, a lot of scientists and engineers, almost 16,000 across the country working on Navy problems. So that's something we want to make a resource to the commercial industry through collaborative research and working together to try to take advantage of the Navy expertise within the gates of these warfare centers and the technical expertise outside the gates in the commercial world. So when we talk about the Tech Bridge, on one side of the Tech Bridge is industry. On the other side of the Tech Bridge, it's the Navy, but it's also these warfare centers and the expertise within them. Okay, so each of the 17 Tech Bridges has a regional focus and a technology focus. Our technology focus here is undersea vehicles, undersea sensors. That's very much influenced by the work we do here at Newark Newport, as well as maritime composites and textiles. If you go a little bit broader to all the regions that we will interface with, there's this long list here, this bulleted list that covers a lot of areas. And if it's a bullet on here, that means there's at least one or two engineers working in this area that we can help connect with industry. If you're working on technology that's not in one of these areas, we can connect to the appropriate Tech Bridge and the appropriate warfare center and help with those connections. So in addition to just the overall focus areas, if you go a little bit deeper into our organization into our science and technology portfolio. So this is a portfolio that's a smaller piece of our budget for things that are way out in the future, not necessarily touching current Navy needs, but looking a little bit ahead. This is the areas we're looking for. Acoustics and signal processing. That's my area. And there's with a lot of things going on with artificial intelligence and machine learning, there's some things going on in industry that are starting to apply to what we do. Unmanned undersea vehicles and autonomous vehicles. You start hearing a lot more about that today. This is something like to say, we've been developing autonomous undersea vehicles for 150 years at Newark, starting with the torpedo world, which is still probably has more autonomy than any other weapon system out there. But there's also communications, both undersea as well as things in the electromagnetic spectrum, autonomous behavior, ocean and bio-inspired sciences. There's a lot you can learn about the ocean that affects the Navy in terms of acoustic performance, but there's other reasons for us to understand the environment we're in, how we model. If we can do more testing digitally and less at water, there's advantages there. Marine materials, as we talk about vehicles going deeper and deeper into the ocean, how do you do that and keep them light but strong enough? I had mentioned machine learning and AI. It's almost become a little bit of a buzzword, but there is some useful technologies there that we can use. And then cybersecurity is something that underlines just about everything we do as we go in the digital world. Okay, so there's kind of two parts to our local tech bridge strategy. One is programming and the other is physical location. On the programming side, we use this evolution chart to say where we want to support bringing new technology into the blue tech space, or technology can help the Navy all the way from early stage to when a company is larger and can do prototyping. We have some support of the larger STEM program over at Newark being done by the Tech Bridge. We're working on making it easier for companies to license Navy IP and build a company around that. We have some programs with URI, and we've also been talking to an organization, Ensign and FedTech, who have had some success in that region. So that's something we're just kicking off. Accelerate, that's the program you're here for today, where we're taking early stage companies and trying to give them a slight maybe course correction towards Navy needs, but making that very light, that we don't upset their or make it more difficult for them to go for the commercial side. But again, we want to get more companies into the mix that can help with the Navy problems. Tech scouting, this is a service we're providing to Newark engineers to say, hey, if you need a technology, you don't have time to go see what's out there in industry, we can hand that off to the Tech Bridge, and they can find the companies that are good at doing that. Prize challenges is another larger program we're doing, where this is a way we can give a challenge out to industry and make it very broad, so just about anybody can respond to it. So it's not necessarily the companies that would normally be looking for government contracts. We've had an example where a student at the Air Force Academy won one of our challenges for a software product they developed. So that's something that we really look passing a wide net for ideas. We have an S&T broad agency announcement at Newark that if people have ideas in S&T, you can put in a proposal, and then we can have that. And if we want to reach back and use that technology, we've satisfied any competition requirements to go back out to the proposer and fund that research. We have programs to help companies do STTRs and SBIRs. One of the most exciting things I see there is Lee, who's on the call, has been working with all the primes in the region, so they can help work with these small companies in their SBIRs to make sure that they're going in the right direction to fit into a program of record that might be incorporated in a larger defense contract. And then finally, It's a thing called OTA. It's Other Transaction Authority. That's another way that's outside of some of the bureaucracy of programs at the Navy to do a prototype. So that's something we do with an organization called UTIC, where a couple times a year we put out challenges for prototypes. And again, if you're a member of UTIC, you don't have to be a big defense contractor. You can join that and develop a prototype. Underlying all of this is working with all the partners in the region, especially up in Boston. So we're all connected, where we're all looking for good companies and good tech, and making sure we're sharing that so everyone across DoD knows about it. Next slide. So the second part, so you have the programmatic part, but then you have the physical locations. The line I usually use is, if you go to Newark, you're going to see a guard, a gate, and a gun. We're not a very welcoming environment. So we want to have a space off base that we can collaborate in. So there's a space over in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, which is pretty close to Newark, close to Newport, also close to Bristol, where there's a lot of marine companies. And that'll be built out with some laboratory facilities, so we can collaborate with companies outside the gate, and it enables a little bit easier entry than coordinating a visit on base. We also want to make the test facilities we have on the waterfront at Newark more easily available to industry. And we're working through that. So any company that has some technology that they want to test in water, you can do it with us. You can do that either through collaborative research, or you could just pay for range time. And what's great about that is we have the infrastructure to do everything to support your tech. We have the guys who know how to deploy it, retrieve it. We have engineers throughout the base who are qualified Navy divers. So if you lose it, they can get it back. And so it's a great way to work on your technology with people who do it every day. So if you have a company that's interested in that, you can look me up and I can help you get on base to do that. And then we are working with the state and URI on the Smart Bay initiative, which is something, a proposal going through to try to do more, a digital twin of the bay, and put more sensors in the bay, and make the Narragansett Bay the place to test undersea technology. Next slide. So everything I just went through is all big picture, a lot of it beyond the scope of this meeting. But if you remember, I did talk about accelerator programs of getting companies off the ground, and having some, giving them some idea of the direction that would be good to go as far as future Navy needs. We've worked with our Navy SBIR office and with Mary and Hope and the rest of the team to say, okay, for this Blue Tech Accelerator, what are areas that we should encourage, where if they get their technology off the ground through this program, on the other end, they might be ready to propose to an SBIR and STTR that might be coming up, a year from now. Or potentially like next December. So we're doing it in a way where we're not giving anyone an unfair advantage prior to the companies coming out. We're just giving some pretty broad areas, which are the areas listed here. And we have the two different areas, shipyard support. So this is something that we don't do as much locally here at Newark, but we are partnered with the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and can work with them to get a better understanding of some of the needs in shipyard support. And a lot of times you think of the Navy and you think, oh, we're going to build this next cool weapon or some great submarine. But there's also a lot you need to do to just keep the shipyards running, and maintenance, and even if it's doing things on handwritten checklists instead of on an iPad. There's a lot of things we can do to modernize how we do things. And then on the digital side, digital engineering, So, having digital twins of our ships, predictive maintenance by collecting more data, AI and machine learning in general for all aspects of Navy work, but also in terms of predicted maintenance, additive manufacturing. We now are putting 3D printers on ships and submarines so they can do sparing a little bit easier. Any technology in that area is welcome, and cybersecurity is always something we're interested in. So I know I threw a lot at you, kind of big picture, but for this accelerator program, this is the key takeaway in terms of areas to focus on. And what we're really hoping for is not for companies to come out of here and be Navy contractors. We want companies to be successful in the commercial world that can also support the Navy world. We call them dual use. So you have a commercial market that's vibrant and sustaining, but it's augmented with the Navy projects. So you're also helping with the defense of the country. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Steve. Just to add a little bit of color to one slide that Steve had, the facility, which is the 401 Tech Bridge Advanced Materials and Technology Center, is meant to be a collaboration space. So the Navy will have a presence there, but it's also a space where small companies that need to do R&D, need access to equipment, can come and have short-term rental of equipment, and space and training space and workforce development and event space. So it will be online sometime toward the end of this year, but we're really thankful for the Navy for being a partner in that space, which gives government, academia, and industry opportunities to collaborate in a space that will be supportive and easy to access, as Steve said, because it is well outside the gates, and run by 401 Tech Bridge, which is the nonprofit organization. So as I said earlier, this Blue Tech Accelerator is a partnership with MassChallenge, the Office of Naval Research, the NavalX Northeast Tech Bridge, and the 401 Tech Bridge. And with that, we'll go to the next slide, and I will reintroduce Hope Hopkins, the head of acceleration programs for MassChallenge, who will talk more specifically about the MassChallenge program and what startups who participate in it, what the program means for the companies who participate in it. So Hope, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you everyone for being here. And we can immediately go to the next slide. Great. So MassChallenge is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that takes no equity. So I put a fine point on that because I know it's important for early stage companies to not enter into a program and immediately have an equity stake at hand. We are mission driven. We equip bold entrepreneurs to disrupt the status quo. And we are a global network. I promised Mary I would go quickly to allow plenty of time for questions. So I am going to blitz through these slides, but if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask. We run programs currently around the globe. The one we're here to talk about today is the U.S. early stage program, of which obviously we wouldn't be here if the applications were not currently open. So the U.S. early stage program has offices in Boston, Texas, in Austin, Houston, and Dallas, and in Rhode Island. We really measure our success by your success. So through the past 13 years now, we've worked with over 3,900 startups. We have a metrics that show our diversity pool is pretty equally based and balanced. And moreover, we see that through follow-on study that when startups go through our program, they're 3 times more likely to build a team of 15 or more, and 2.5 times more likely to achieve a $500,000 or more funding round. So what is an acceleration program? If this is utterly unfamiliar to you, and trying to tie it back into some of what Steve was talking about relative to the startup life cycle, the reason this partnership works is that we align with becoming that, in Steve's graphic, we were the acceleration engine, and you saw that there was a long tail to follow that included SBIR, STTR, a mention of UTIC. We really want to be that on-ramp, that supportive on-ramp into that larger schematic for you. And so not only are we working in concert with the group here today to make sure challenge areas and technical cases are built, but we also work with you on building a strong business so that if you do truly follow the dual use mantra, that you'll be equally equipped for commercial or government process and procurement down the road. So again, we work with founders from anywhere in the world and across all different industries. And we do this through a 3-month rigorous program. We do a number of curriculum sessions. We do a pretty distinct mentorship program where we actually will match you with a mentor based on technical and functional knowledge gaps. And the big piece, when people often ask me what I do day in and day out, it's social engineering. So a lot of the focus of our program is to not only ensure that your business is stable and strong, but to get you exposed to other industries you might not yet have considered and or customers. So again, we do have about 47 corporate partners that circle us, many of whom support our efforts and so have a vested interest in working with each of you. And again, we really, as a 501c3 mission-driven organization, we really create as much equitable access as we can possibly do. Why do founders like yourselves engage with us? Again, I mentioned the global partners. We have experts from all across the globe who have untold amounts of expertise. And there is an opportunity at the end of this to compete for non-dilutive cash prizes and other in-kind awards. Specific to the Blue Tech track work, we recognize this is a significantly regulatory heavy environment. So there is a breakout from within the context of the larger early stage program designed specifically to support all of you in advancing your naval strategies and or whatever it may be in the context to government contracting. And then finally, I'd mentioned it before, but the results have seen that our finalists and finalists are those that get down selected at the end, do go on to raise funds during or immediately after the program. So the safety and security track is the broader track within which the Blue Tech discipline rests. So the larger kind of areas of focus for that, the safety and security track, are in hypersonic, cyber resilience, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and autonomy. And then you'll see, next slide, actually. So these objectives in terms of those types of things come out of the larger technical areas that we see across all different armed forces and their challenge areas and needs. The program itself is designed to specifically map startups with technology that's relevant to distinct needs within the context of any of these public safety, and national security. And this group of partners in particular are heavily invested in supporting those matches. And again, the goals of this program are really to foster that entrepreneurial spirit within the DoD and prime contractors. And I'm pausing there because this is as much oftentimes an opportunity for these entities to develop a little bit of their own innovation muscle and understand a little bit more about working with startups as it is for you to seek opportunity and guidance from them. And again, we just spend a lot of time truly in that acceleration space. How do we make the connections early on that allow you to explore different use cases, different paths to non-dilutive funding, of which the Department of Defense has quite a bit in their SBIR programs. And again, I don't want to omit the fact that we simultaneously want to support your commercial applications as well. And I saw a question pop up. Simone, that's a great question. I don't know exactly where we are in Nigeria. We're running a boot camp right now for the Nigerian government, but I couldn't tell you exactly where that is, but I'm going to find out for you. So I mentioned the Blue Tech focus. that is, you've seen these challenge areas that we're currently seeking startups to solve for, and we can just keep moving on. So again, not everybody really understands dual use, nor do they understand why they might consider applying to a program such as ours. So I'm sharing with you a couple of case studies. Simplesense was a technology that came to us some time ago, and they were really focused more on security forces, fire and emergency services. And through some support that we provided and exposure to the SBIR process, they went on to win 2 phase 1s and have since secured a myriad of government contracts. And these were 2 co-founders that did not, prior to being exposed to folks like at MITRE, at 401 Tech Bridge and the like, and certainly Newick, they never conceived of the fact that they might ever be a naval defense contractor. Again, another example, this one's a little bit more local to Rhode Island, as a matter of fact. One of the founders is out of URI, but another really amazing technology that came to fruition because it was meant to be a supportive device for the founder's mother, who was suffering from ALS at the time and has gone on to become quite a technological, I can't even, just done a ton of good work for the end user in the defense world. And this is the last one. So this is actually one of my all-time favorite stories from MassChallenge. This is a story about a company called Voxel 8 that was doing 3D printing of sneakers. And they were identified as having the capability to create an antenna for a Black Hawk helicopter that had the right tolerance stack, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other important design elements to it. And they really and truly never, ever in a million years thought that they would be working with government. And as a matter of fact, they've gone on to move back into the realm of sneakers. So they did determine the defense world was not really for them. But our friends at MITRE, who MITRE being an FFRDC, retains their technology and is still using it quite actively. So the most important piece now, how to apply. So applications are closing on April 20th. So that is exactly 2 weeks from today. So if you have not already started, please do so. In terms of eligibility, the early stage program, there are only 2 criteria, and that is that you have less than $1 million in equity funding raised in the last 12 months and 2 million in revenue generated. And then this is not ideal, I realized, for step-by-step directions, but you're literally going to go to our website and you're going to click on the Apply Now button, and then you'll have to register yourself, obviously, as a startup. And then that will take you to a page where you would indicate your program of interest. While this is absolutely the Blue Tech Accelerator program, it lives inside of the larger US Early-Stage Accelerator. So really important to note when you go and indicate program of interest to knock that US Early-Stage Accelerator program off. And then that will take you through the profile components and then ultimately the application. Key program dates. So we opened applications on March 8th. We are in the process of soliciting applications. We are a pretty competitive program. So we'll take around 10% or so of our final application pool, which means our goal is to ultimately end up with a cohort size of 250 companies come July 11th when our program kicks off. These companies go from that roughly 2,000 application pool down to the 250 through 2 rounds of evaluation. So the first round actually kicks off in a few days from now, and that's fully online. So that is where our evaluators have opted in and committed to review your application itself. So the documentation you submit to us is ultimately what they will be reviewing and grading you on through our rubric. And then if you are down selected from that group, you'll be invited to participate in early June into what we call round 2 judging. And round 2 judging is actually our virtual pitch event. So you'll come in and you will pitch via Zoom to a live audience, and you'll be allowed 20 minutes in the room with the evaluators, of which we want to see 10 minutes or so of your pitch. And then we do ask that you leave around 10 minutes or so for Q&A. And then of that round, the finalists are eventually selected. And then we'll run the program. So the program kicks off this year on July 11th, and it ends with a showcase, which is a big event on the 21st of September. And then after that, you'll have access to all of the different geographies that we run programs in. We're calling these our market access programs. And essentially what these are like mini trade missions for each of you to go into these geographies and meet with the different corporate partners that are local to there, and or resources. So pending construction timelines, certainly we envision that in that October 13, 14 timeframe when we host in Rhode Island, we'll go and see that site that the 401 Tech Bridge is building, where you could ultimately pilot and build. And then finally, the cash prize component that I mentioned. So there's a reapplication process towards the end of the year for that. And then those there's another evaluation period that will happen with that award now being announced in the following first quarter of 2023. I'm just going to mind the chat. Brilliant. Bill Stabby, be based in the United. Is it important that applications? Absolutely not. It is not imperative that applicants are based in the US. We're now a global world as it is. And in fact, last year, we saw 34% of our startups came from outside of the US. And is it important that applicants submit proposals that are directly relevant to the military sector? Not at all. Again, we are an industry agnostic accelerator, so submit. The good news is you don't even have to decide what tracks you want to participate in until you've been accepted into the program. So the most important part of the application is just to put forth your best self so that you get into the program. And then we're going to sort and sift you into the different tracks based on further eligibility to come.
There was a question up the thing, which I think was more directed at Steve. Steve, Dr. Ted Anderson has done R&D in hypersonics, thinks he has a method to track hypersonic missiles and communicate through the plasma sheath. How does he get his slides in front of the right people?
So you can start by sending them to me. I'll probably just make a connection and get out of the way. I don't know off the top of my head who that connection would be, but I will find that out. And ideally, somebody has a BAA in that region, in that area, so you might be able to submit to that. Just a word of warning on the BAAs, that we try to make at least locally, we try to make the proposal really easy to do because it's not necessarily funding right away on the other side. So the real key to that BAA process is that you get your technology kind of stamped in your name and meet any competition requirements for any further work. But hopefully I can find the right person for hypersonics. Yeah. I know we're focused in that area. Anyone in the 401 Tech Bridge will connect to me. So they know my email very well and keep my inbox quite healthy.
All right. So if you have other questions, please put them up in the chat. Just to summarize, the applications for the MassChallenge Accelerator are due April 20th. You apply through the MassChallenge site. Startups with all interests are welcome to apply. If you have technology specifically related to the ones that the Navy is looking for, we'd really love to hear from you. But like with some of Hope's examples there are companies who come in who don't really recognize that there might be a dual use application for their technology. So we really do encourage you to apply, even if you're just looking at commercial markets, and especially if you're looking at dual use markets. This is a virtual accelerator, so you don't need to be based in the region. You can apply from anywhere in the world. I will do a pitch for Rhode Island as being a place where blue tech is certainly taking off. We have certainly the relationship with the defense industry and the R&D that is being done at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Newport. There's also a growing offshore wind industry. And there's other maritime and research opportunities that are happening in the blue tech space. We had a successful partnership in 2021 with MassChallenge to run a blue tech accelerator that had 16 companies, startups involved. And we're really excited to see applications from another round of companies for 2022. We think this is a terrific program. It gives you lots of visibility into how to position your business, how to move it forward, a lot of connections who can help you with tech commercialization and understanding your markets and getting to market. And of course, as part of the program, you will be able to access the resources of 401 Tech Bridge and into the connections into the Northeast Tech Bridge, the NavalX Northeast Tech Bridge. If you don't meet those two application requirements, I would encourage you just to reach out to us personally. We would love to set up a quick call and just talk to you more about what your needs are, what your technology is. There may be opportunities for us to help you even if you do not participate in the accelerator itself, but we are anxious to hear from you either way. So Miguel has shared the slide that can link you directly to the application and to the 401 Tech Bridge side. And I will take a look in the chat and see if there are additional questions. I do not see any additional questions. There's one more. Oh, what process do we use to help assisting small business, the small business commercialization process? That is very personalized to the company. I will give a pitch for one of our programs that's currently running. We have a program called Startup Rhode Island, which pairs companies with one-on-one consulting with an expert in manufacturing processes and helping companies move from prototype into pilot manufacturing and production. That's an excellent program for those of you who are making products or components that might go into products and are looking to set up a manufacturing process and to move your prototype along. There are also, and Lee just put her email in the chat, you can reach out to Lee directly. She can certainly help you with connecting into SBIRs, also with help understanding where your technology might fit within the technical domains of the Navy. And Annette, if you could also put your information in the chat. Annette Tonti at RIHub is broadly positioned to help companies, entrepreneurs and startups in Rhode Island, or who thinking they might move to Rhode Island to access the resources around the state. And again, we thank Annette for her help in spreading the word about this workshop. Unless there are any other questions, I think that we're probably ready to wrap up for today. And you can feel free to reach out to me at any time or to any of the 401 Tech Bridge team if you have questions or need additional information. But thanks again for coming, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.